What do crumbling schools, teacher shortages, and student debt have in common? Today, we're breaking down America's education system, who funds it, who fails in it, and how we're going to fix it. Throughout the video, drop a comment. What did you wish you were taught in schools? More about taxes, trade skills, critical thinking? Also, challenge my takes in this video. I'm open to being wrong. I feel that real progress is made when we meet in the middle. We all come from different frames of reference, so the community we build is what's going to make a positive change in our education system. We're still using a factory model to teach in a digital creative economy. This is leaving students bored and unprepared when they go into the real world. Think about what you do each day in your classroom. You come in, you sit down in rows, you memorize facts, you follow instructions, and you take standardized tests. But today we live in the information age. Things are changing so rapidly. We need to think critically, solve real-world problems, collaborate across cultures, and learn how to learn. I want to make this clear. The whole public education system is in need of an overhaul. That said, people in certain zip codes have an advantage. Why is this? Because funding is based on local property taxes. So if you're in a well-to-do area, you're going to get more funding for your schools. Low-income areas obviously generate less, even though their students need more. In the U.S., parents can't freely decide the school district for their students. To get your child into a better school district, you got to move. And what does that mean? Higher rent, higher mortgage. Both parents have to work multiple jobs. Some families lie about their zip code to get into a better school. Can you blame them? We're all unique. We all have our own gifts and our learning styles. Yet we're all put in these test-driven public schools. Some of us thrive, but I'd say the majority of us are left drowning. Between K through 12, students on average take 112 standardized tests. You know who would thrive in that environment? Robots. And guess what? They're coming, and they don't get tired. They don't need lunch breaks. Heck, they can work 24 hours. So what's going to set us apart from those robots is our unique humanity. We need to stay curious. We need to find what makes us special and how we can share that with the world. Why does the public school system funding keep shrinking? Number one, an over-reliance on property taxes. If you're in a wealthy neighborhood, you're going to have better schools. If you're in a poor neighborhood, the reverse. And if your neighborhood starts depreciating in value, your education system's going to go down the drain too. Number two, state and federal disinvestment. Over the past few decades, state and federal funding has gone down in public schools. That leaves local communities responsible for paying for everything. And with inflation as it is, it's a losing battle. Number three, tax cuts and budget priorities. Many states have to decide whether to cut taxes or to prioritize spending for schools, policing, prisons, corporate subsidies. And with inflation, the dollar simply gets spread too thin to invest in all these areas that need it desperately. And where does inflation come from? It comes from the government printing more money. And when they do that, every dollar is worth less. Number four, shrinking public pressure on our politicians. Politicians focus on the short term so they get elected, whereas investment in schools is long term. The things that get the investments are those that see immediate results and are backed by lobbyists like defense contractors, healthcare, finance, banking. And teacher pay has been stagnant for decades. Not only has it not been able to keep up with inflation, it can't keep up with the rising costs, technology, safety, special ed. And here's the real kicker. In many districts, they're still stuck in this public sector pay scale, which means your salary is based on years worked, not workload, not merit, not effort. That's un-American. Add in what I mentioned earlier, weak political will. The education system doesn't have the powerful lobbyists who can influence politicians. Therefore, the education system gets left in the dust, while the politicians bend over backwards for pharmaceutical companies, big food, defense, finance. There's the big tech investment in schools. Microsoft, Apple, Google. This can be great. They can bring in laptops, apps, learning platforms to help us learn. But think about it. Once you're locked into a contract with one of these companies, you're stuck with what they give you. And the way things are changing so rapidly, that system can become outdated, and your students are stuck working in an outdated system. We need an education system that is controlled by educators, and their primary motive is to do what's best for the students. The problem is now lobbyists have control. Testing companies, ed tech firms, even charter schools. And although they're contributing to building well-run education institutions, they're driven by profits. And the students sometimes get left behind. Then there's the teachers' unions. They fight for teacher rights, which is great. We got to do what's best for our teachers. But what gets lost again are the students. Sometimes the teachers' unions fight for teachers who are underperforming. They worry so much about pay, time off, prep periods, that they're not structuring a system that's ultimately going to enhance the learning of the student for this modern technology age. It's time to take a step back in history to the 1900s, the anti-standardized movement established by John Dewey, an educator and a philosopher. John Dewey believed that education should be about thinking, not just memorizing. He pushed for hands-on project-based learning that builds curiosity, not compliance. The pros? Kids learn real-world skills, stay engaged, and critical think through problems. The cons? It's harder to measure outcomes. It takes more resources, time, and training. In the 1950s, during the Cold War, there was a push for STEM, which neglected the arts and the humanities. The pros of this era were the major investments in science and math, especially after Sputnik in 1957. It led to the creation of NASA, which led to innovation, engineering in the space race. This era produced scientists, engineers, and tech innovators. The cons of this era? The arts, literature, philosophy, and civic education were neglected. We absolutely have to continue our investment in science, math, engineering, but we need a holistic education approach. We have to continue to invest in the arts and critical thinking especially. This era contributed to the utilitarian mindset. What's the economic value versus what's the human value? In the 80s, there was Reagan-era cuts to public education. The quality of our education was being challenged. Schools were being encouraged to evaluate accountability and efficiency. The school choice movement was launched, and there were early discussions about charter schools. The public school funding cuts led to larger class sizes, teacher layoffs, and degrading facilities. There was increasing inequality between the affluent areas and the lower income neighborhoods. Teacher morale went down. There were cuts in arts programs, counseling, extracurricular activities. Policies like No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top aimed to improve education by using test-based accountability. The No Child Left Behind policy, established in 2002 by the Bush administration, exposed achievement gaps. Here's how. Schools were required to track test scores by race, income, and disability. That's a plus. This created an accountability system to track underperforming schools. It aimed to ensure that all students reached basic proficiency in math and reading. The cons? It overemphasized standardized tests. We were all teaching to the test. While these tests focus on reading and math, they de-emphasize the arts, science, social studies. And, like any sweeping universal policy in education, it's going to fall short. Their unrealistic goal was 100% proficiency by 2014. The only way that would succeed is if we were all clones. Next, Race to the Top, established in 2009 by the Obama administration. Here are the pros. It rewarded innovation, which is great. States had to compete for federal dollars by proposing education reform. It encouraged data-driven decision-making, and teacher evaluations were tied to performance. It promoted Common Core standards to increase rigor and consistency among the states. The cons? States were pressured to adopt reforms that didn't have long-term studies to verify their worthiness. It linked teacher pay and job security to student tests. Once again, we don't all learn through testing. That's a universal policy that's destined for failure. And despite the No Child Left Behind fatigue, this system also promoted the test culture. And guess who it benefited the most? states who were already better resourced. In the 2020s, we saw the impact of remote learning. The pros: many schools adopted tech and digital literacy went up. There was flexibility in learning formats. You could learn in the classroom, at home, or a hybrid model. This era has shined a light on mental health and personalized education. The cons: there's massive inequality in device and internet access, and the parental guidance is there for some, but not there for others. Students with disabilities, IEPs, and language barriers were negatively impacted. We found that social isolation has had a huge impact on our kids. Let's go outside of the US to see how systems are working elsewhere. Finland, for example. Teachers have more control and decision-making power over aspects of their job. Finland got rid of all high-stakes standardized tests except one national exam at the end of high school. Assessment is done in Finland by teacher-created tests, student-teacher dialogue, and feedback. Teachers have more autonomy. They design their own curriculum based on broad national standards. And they're trusted professionals. They are required to have a master's degree in education. Schools allow for flexibility in teaching methods, pacing, and evaluation. Finland has had world-class outcomes. Despite less tests and fewer hours in the class, they consistently score high in international rankings. They focus on equity, well-being, critical thinking, and lifelong learning rather than test scores. Let's go to Germany now. They have a dual-track system. They focus on classroom learning and hands-on vocational training. Students, usually around the age of 15 or 16, choose a vocational or an academic path. In this dual system, students spend half of their time learning theory in the classroom and the other time in real-world scenarios with a business. They actually sign an apprenticeship contract with a company. They earn a small wage, and for 2 to 3 years, they're gaining real skills in IT, healthcare, the trades. The key benefits: there's a smoother transition into the workforce. You got a skilled labor force tailored to industry needs, and there's lower youth unemployment. In Japan, they invest in educators. Teachers spend hours collaborating, devising what's going to be best for the students. Teachers routinely plan, observe, and refine lessons together. For example, one teacher teaches a lesson, the others observe. They meet, they analyze, and they improve the lesson. This creates a culture of continued improvement and shared growth. Teachers get mentorship, time for collaboration, and regular training. In Japan, teachers spend more time outside of the classroom, devising lessons that are more effective when they are in the classroom. Now it's time for 2 perspectives on the industrial schooling model. First is Horace Mann. He's the father of American public education. Horace Mann lived from 1796 to 1859. He was a lawyer, politician, and educator. He supported universal, standardized public education to uplift society and create informed citizens. Sir Ken Robinson was anti-industrial schooling. He lived from 1950 to 2020. A British author, educator, and speaker known for challenging the way we think about education. He believed the traditional system stifles creativity by overemphasizing standardized testing and academic conformity. Sir Ken Robinson saw the system as a factory, stamping out individuality, curiosity, and critical thought. How can Greek mythology inform us about our education system today? Let's talk about the story of Prometheus and the fire of knowledge. Prometheus, a titan, saw humans struggling in the cold and dark, lacking the tools to survive. So what did he do? He stole fire from the gods, a symbol of knowledge, enlightenment, and civilization, and gave it to humanity. For this rebellion, Zeus punished him severely. Prometheus was chained to a rock where an eagle ate his liver daily. Yet his sacrifice gave mankind a chance to rise, to think, and to build. Our education system is meant to be that fire, a gift that enlightens, empowers, and liberates. But today we ration that fire. We tie it to zip codes, test scores, and tuition fees. We punish teachers who think freely and ignore students who burn with potential but lack the privilege. So in a way, the American school system is like Zeus, guarding the fire. And we need Prometheus to rise up in the form of parents, teachers, reformers, willing to defy the system and bring the fire back to the people. So who are the Zeuses? Testing companies and ed tech firms. They're profit-driven. Companies like Pearson, McGraw-Hill, and others make billions off standardized tests, textbooks, prep courses, and learning platforms. Think about this. They thrive in a system that prioritizes compliance, ranking, and repetition over critical thinking and creativity. Politicians, many of whom prefer control over change. Their incentive? Short-term thinking, power, and simplicity. A conformist test-based system that we have allows for easy, quantifiable accountability. Perfect for campaign soundbites. True reform requires courage, complexity, and long-term thinking, which unfortunately doesn't win elections. Then there's the bureaucrats and the gatekeepers in the education machine. Their incentive? Job security and system preservation. What do I mean by this? School boards, district offices, accreditation bodies, they often operate with rigid frameworks. Too much change threatens their roles, their structures, and their funding. Corporations that benefit from worker obedience. The traditional model produces punctual, rule-following worker bees, not necessarily free thinkers or disruptors what we need. Critical thinking and questioning the system, that's a liability to the hierarchy of control. Elite institutions and gatekeepers of privilege want to maintain their exclusivity. The current system filters students by zip code, test scores, and tuition ability. That's not broken for them. It's working exactly as intended. So who are these elite institutions? Ivy League universities, Harvard, Yale, Princeton. Top private prep schools. Standardized testing organizations, ETS, College Board. Admissions consulting firms. Legacy donor systems in elite colleges. Wealthy alumni networks and trustees who influence policy. Let's lighten the mood now with a comedy showdown. We got two perspectives. Chad is more conservative with the education approach, whereas Wyatt is more progressive.
You ever notice how public schools look a lot like prisons? Cement walls, metal detectors, zero joy. Only difference? Prisoners get more outdoor time. And you don't have to ask permission to pee. You ever notice how we're handing out diplomas like Bed Bath & Beyond coupons? For sure, man. And cheating? That used to be a scandal. Now it's like workforce readiness. Hey, I didn't lie. I just collaborated efficiently under pressure. Meanwhile, the colleges are like, sorry, Timmy, your SAT scores were perfect. Your GPA flawless, but you're like white and good at math. So you're out, man. You want to know what else? In prison, they teach you a trade for free. Welding, plumbing, auto repair. Real stuff that real people need. In school, you say, I want to be a mechanic. And they're like, cool. But first, let's spend 4 years teaching you the Pythagorean theorem, mitosis, and how to diagram a sentence. What? Like I'm going to be fixing a muffler someday and go, wait, before I rotate these tires, let me find the hypotenuse. When was it they determined America was overachieving too much and they had to knock us down a peg with affirmative action? Can't have America the most productive country and having the wrong skin tone. It's like we're saying, we don't want to be the best. We want to be the most diverse average. Forget merit. We're curating vibes now, man. Colleges are like, yeah, we're underperforming, but have you seen our diversity mural? It breaks my heart. We take a 5-year-old who has 200 questions in a day. We put him in a classroom, and by high school, they're like, is this going to be on the test? We created the imagination right out of him. Van Gogh would have failed our class. Hey, Vincent, your sky's too swirly. We told him to think critically, then punished him for questioning the instructions. Back in the day, we had auto shop, wood shop, even home ec, bro. If the car wouldn't start, we popped the hood. Cupboard broke, grab a drill, man. Spouse wasn't home, boom, lasagna. Now we've got social emotional learning. The car dies, we collapse. The cupboard breaks, and we journal about our trauma. Dinner, we light a candle and cry in a corner. But hey, at least we can competently express our incompetence. Remember them days before school? We're running, climbing, building pirate ships out of couch cushions. By 3rd grade, you got a Fitbit just to remind you to move. In schools, we used to prep kids for jobs. Now we're prepping them to go viral crying on TikTok. My boss made me work 8 hours with only 1 lunch and 2 breaks. God forbid they ever get drafted. They'll need a ring light in the foxhole. Little kids don't care about race agenda. They'll hug a tree, high-five a janitor, and play tea party with a kid in a dinosaur costume. It just don't make a difference. But give it a few years, a couple behavioral notices, and suddenly it's sit still, line up, speak when spoken to, fill in the bubble, Chad. You're one of those guys who supports creativity in schools. For what? I didn't get to where I am by thinking outside the box. Nah, I got in the box, shut the lid, followed instructions, and I clocked in on time. What a douchebag. Now, bro, I'm part of a well-oiled machine working to support not only my family, but all them non-tax-paying outside the boxers spraying graffiti on freeway signs and lowering the property value of my home, living on streets in a rusted-out Buick with a bumper sticker that reads, "This is my startup." And what about all them standardized tests? It's like airport security. They stress everyone out, rarely catch what matters, and mostly just check if you can follow directions. Yeah, we're churning out drones, worker bees, mindless idiots who are never going to be able to succeed in the information age. Everyone's always complaining these days that schools kill individuality. Yeah, that's the point. You think your boss cares about your personal learning style? No, Karen. He cares that you clocked in, stayed muted on Teams, and didn't request an emotional support goat for your cubicle. They turn our minds into mush with the crap they feed us in the cafeteria, where pizza's considered a vegetable. You forget everything you learned over summer vacation. In the fall, we'll start the whole circus over again. While meanwhile, China sprints ahead with critical thinking, real math, and kids who weren't trained to be like lab rats. It's a joke. America's got to come back. Recess used to build men. The bell rang, we sprinted for that one dodgeball that wasn't half deflated. That ball was gold, man. The rest, roadkill. Then was the territory wars. That's right, you claim a court. Pick the best players, no feelings, just skills. If you suck, you heard about it. Should have ducked, Trevor. No refs, no whistle. If someone cheated, we fought behind the tetherball pole. That was restorative justice, baby. But if a bench warmer caught a ball and saved the game, they got the glory like they deserve, man. That's how we build self-esteem, not with stickers and therapy goats.
Who do you agree with more, Chad or Wyatt? Drop a comment below. And of the things I talked about today, what jumped out at you? What don't you agree with? And here's a proposition I've got for you. What if, instead of a universal system that we're always trying to implement, how about we have multiple systems so we always have a choice? The current public education system is working gangbusters for so many people who love the standardized testing. They thrive on it. Let them keep thriving on it. But let's add some other systems. Homeschooling. Japan system, Finland, Germany. Think about how they approach the education system. We can develop all types of systems so that everyone can discover their gifts and share them with the world. I want to leave you with a quote from Frederick Douglass. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Let's build a system that nurtures minds, not just grades them. I'm Jeff Virkus. Thanks for watching. I love you.